Welcome back, everybody, to Battle of the Best, the grand finals. We're in series number 2, where D2 came all the way from the losers bracket after losing in Forsen the winners finals, and now is tied up once more. So, whoever wins this best of 5 is going to be your champion and taking home $1,000. Forsen was off to a good lead yesterday. He didn't really lose, but now it seems like his strategy didn't work out in the previous series. He banned the warrior and it didn't work out. It seems like he's going to stick with it and see if this time around things can go his way, but he got stopped 3-0 with every single deck. D2 played 3 different decks and 3-0'd him. Forsen needs to be able to tilt some of these matchups in his favor, otherwise he's going to bobble a 2-series lead, and that's just really tough. You know, the fact that you can lose from that far up.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was he just fell victim to the lineups getting run into each other in the wrong way. I still like his warrior ban. And of course, the hunter versus handlock game, that's always an unfortunate one to drop. And then, again, the mage got matched up against the hunter. So like 2 things that like he really is trying to avoid are both the things that actually happened in that. So we're just going to head straight into the game. Forsen's going to lead with mage in this one, and D2's going to lead with hunter. I don't know if D2's just got his number or what, but he has been outthinking him so far in these lineup choices at pretty much every step of the way.
That's right. And it's a little unfortunate for Forsen fans because I know a lot of them have came onto the stream and we're hoping that he'd do it, but it is a lot about what you think your opponent's going to pick to lead off the series, and that's what players like Tides, Strife Crow, a lot of them attribute their success to their series win percentages because of how they protect their opponent. This also carries over to guys like RDU and Firebet as well. So a good start for D2 if he can get the proper start going. Undertaker Mad Scientist is great, but Freeze Mage can deal with that pretty easily. There's lots of spells at their arsenal.
The other thing that can help deal with it really easily is just Doomsayer. So like a turn 1 Undertaker into a turn 2 Mad Scientist here could just be met with Doomsayer sometimes, and that's going to shut it down.
Sure. I don't mind that too, because Doomsayer turn 2 and then into Arcane Intellect turn 4, Loot Hoarder and Ping still also orders things correctly, but you also have Frost Nova Doomsayer, so you have synergy there. You can keep it without having to use.
He's even got 2 Death Rattle minions to put this out of reach of attacking in with the Loot Hoarder and pinging.
Oh man, Arcane Intellect feels really bad, and Forsen not going for turn 2 Doomsayer is going to sting pretty badly.
Yeah, and so he's going to wait till he can freeze and take control of the board that way. So he's going to suffer some early damage, but the Ice Barrier really going to be soaking up a lot, and then of course the 2 Sludge Belchers. D2's hand looks a little bit more scaling based instead of just like really big burst damage. If this makes a Huffer, he's going to be in trouble though.
Oh man.
Oh jeez. Oh, that is bad news for Forsen. Oh, and the BM is already starting between the 2 of these guys. They are riled up. Alright, so Doomsayer, this is going to effectively just act as a 7-point gain if D2 chooses to play it that way. I don't know if it's going to. This is a lot of damage to forego if you choose to do that.
He's even got Lothab. This game can be over so quickly. Oh
wow, he's going to choose to take out the Doomsayer.
Okay, so that's good news, in fact, for Forsen. Because now he's got Frost Nova Doomsayer. Mind Control Tech's gonna have to sit this one out. Maybe next turn though, if his Doomsayer goes down. So there is a backup option here. Ooh, the fact that he also loses Mad Scientist off his freezing trap is more painful, and he also gives another charge to the bow.
Freeze Doomsayer is doing a little bit of work here though, so it's gonna help sustain him just a tiny bit, but I don't know how much it's gonna actually affect this game. I'm curious if there's any merit to like playing Sludge Belcher just to get a 1-2 on the board. I don't think there is. I think it's strictly worse than just hero powering. And I would play Mad Scientist as well just to get the secrets out of my deck. Like you don't want to draw them in the Hunter's position here. You just want to be drawing business and pushing for damage. So he's playing this Mad Scientist strictly just to thin out his deck and go from there. Meanwhile,
I'm still surprised Forsen gave another charge to this bow and willingly attacked with the Mad Scientist in.
Yeah.
Lost his own secret too.
A little bit surprising.
Now he's almost dead to so many things.
Yeah, I feel like this this mind control tech needs to come out. He just needs bodies on the board right now to start stemming some amount of damage his opponent's going to deal. So if D2 thinks that this secret is an ice barrier, he shouldn't be really attacking with his bow this turn. But without any information of what it is,
I mean, it's a really safe assumption it's ice block because he's so close to dying.
yeah.
Even then, you still can just save your bow charge. Still, no need to attack into it.
Yep. Frostbolt. Alright, so Forsen may actually be able to start piecing something together here. He gets good news that he can actually attack his opponent's face now. So he's not like completely out of it. Sludge Belcher's going to buy him a little bit of time.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good idea to actually ping the Savannah Hyman.
Yeah, it's the right call, too, because there is Black Knight. And it's not over yet. If he draws Flare, it is over. But getting through this 1-2 is really important. The fact that he's able to use the Black Knight.
Yep.
Now, the Ice Barrier will pop. It means it's not going to be Ice blocked and be popped. And there's still a chance for Forsen to grab something with Mad Scientist. Or even Flame Strike and kill.
Gosh. This is going to be really tough.
So he's got to use his freeze here, right?
Well, he's got two of them, so I mean, he could potentially freeze both of these.
Right.
I feel like with the way that the game is going, though, he wants that damage to be invested into his opponent's face. I don't know if he has that much time.
Flame Strike, you have to wait till next turn. Mad Scientist. I think Sludge Belcher is your best option. He already did play Black Knight.
The question is if you play around something like a silence effect from your opponent. Like, that's really the big deal. Is like, if his opponent has a silence and he doesn't freeze, he is dead this turn. But I feel like if he freezes this turn, like, how is he actually going to kill his opponent? That's what I'm wondering. And it feels to me like he's kind of thinking about the same thing. Like, he feels very reluctant to freeze. To me, if he does freeze, he should freeze the Hymen, of course. So still some potential.
Okay, so he's gonna Flame Strike next turn, right?
Yeah, he's trying to set up a Flame Strike with this.
But then Loatheb, does it shut him out of the game if he does that? No, because he can't push through the Sludge Belcher. This is where Sludge Belcher is really key.
Yeah, he actually should just be playing his own Sludge Belcher here. Oh, this is tough.
Really tight.
So Frostbolt's going to be hitting this Savannah Hymen, I think.
Is he gonna Flame Strike this?
If he's going to Flame Strike this, yeah, I don't know if I like this play, because you can Frostbolt the Savannah Hymen, attack the Sludge Belcher into the Sludge Belcher, and then Flame Strike, which is going to clear out the tokens and the 1/2.
Right.
And then you can
you're completely right about this.
Yeah. You could also, this is an alternative too. You can just freeze this board and ping down one of these two other guys. Yeah, and then just use Frost Nova to buy himself an extra turn. That's unreasonable. But the hero powers, I mean, this is really trimming the amount of time he has to be able to even try to win this game. So the issue is not only does he have to find a way to actually kill his opponent or stay alive for a couple of turns, but he has to fend off this attack and then also launch an attack on his opponent.
But if it does survive and Mad Scientist can go off, then he does have an opportunity next turn. Antonidas gives him some range, but I don't know if he can kill. He needs Antonidas to guarantee a 2-turn kill. Mad Scientist might be one of his better options here, because the Flame Strike needs to go for big damage across the board.
Yeah, just running out of time. Well, he triggers a Snake Trap.
Sure. It's the same exact thing anyways.
Okay, here we go. I actually like this a lot.
It was going to be doing this anyways. Except he did... I guess he did give up his mind control tech for...
Yeah.
Instead of, like, Flame Striking first and then killing off the 1/2 body.
It's fine. Loatheb here is probably going to shut it out, though.
Oh, he doesn't have another Frost Nova. That should do it. The Loatheb is a shutdown. Unless he gets Ice Block. Ice Block is another chance.
That would be it, though. Yep.
No, he still can ping. He can still ping.
He can still suicide the
Yep.
the Mad Scientist.
Exactly. What does he get? Is it duplicate? Ice
It is
block.
Ice block. I think, does he jam down Archmage here?
I
Just
suppose
trying to soak
so.
up more damage.
Does it really matter though?
I mean, you're
Next
never
turn
gonna
you're
be able to
flame
play it if
striking,
you don't.
right?
Yeah, you're
Next
never gonna
turn
be
you're
able to play
flame
this if you
striking.
don't play Archmage though. Like, when are you ever gonna have 7 mana available again? All right, so just kind of blind hope that your opponent does this wrong, and then also doesn't kill your Archmage. Looks pretty tough to mess this one up, though.
I don't. Yeah, all you have to do is just get him down really low. Just hero powered. He still has to kill you next turn. Forsen could hypothetically like draw into another ice block, into Alex Straza of some sort. Still really easy to close out here from D2.
Yeah. Gonna take him down to just 1 life left. That would be one of the ways to have that, is Archmage gonna live this turn now? Oh, okay, Black Knight had, for whatever reason I thought Black Knight had attacked this turn already. I was like, maybe one of the ways he actually loses this one. Alright, so I don't know how he gets out of this at all. Like, it's so unreasonable to be able to climb back from this. He needs an ice block, he needs a flame strike, he needs to not die, he needs to actually deal his opponent 23 points of damage. As much as I would love to find the excitement in this game, it frankly just isn't there. And that's going to do it. Once again, D2 has lined up Hunter into Forsen's Mage, pulling ahead in a lead, and has a lot of momentum on his side now.
Mm-hmm.
And Forsen, gosh, he's got to do something to get the momentum back on his side, but it's just the lineups are not going his way so far.
That's right. The first win is out of the way, though, for D2, which means D2 has the option of picking same class or switching, and then Forsen can counterpick. But it seems like D2 has a pretty good guess on the first one and a read on his opponent. So that is the difference maker oftentimes in this series. If you get the early lead, you have the final say, unless Forsen wins the next 2. If he wins 2 with Warrior, then Forsen will be in a good position for the last series, potentially. I mean, it really does depend if Forsen wins this game or not. If Forsen loses this game, it's going to be extremely hard. Like, his percentage to win the series drops to like the low teens, versus right now it looks like it's in the like 30-40s range, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you on that one too. It's just, you know, that's the nature of it. It's like whoever wins the first game usually wins the series. And surprise, surprise. I think your assessment's pretty correct. It's probably somewhere still in like the 60-40 range. But if he loses the next game, it's such a big drop off after that. Like, not only do you not have momentum, but your opponent has their entire lineup to shift against you, and so they can just leverage it however. Yeah, with good matchups, so they can just leverage it however they want. And but as it stands, Forsen now down 0-1 in the final series of this match. He dropped the first series to D2, and we're gonna get into game 2. And I have gotten no word of D2 going to switch his deck, so it looks like he's going to stick to Hunter and see what he can come up with.
Then Forsen has to win with his Warrior. This Warrior deck still is the X factor. If Forsen can win, there's plenty of ways for this Warrior to bring back Forsen into the series.
I like not switching here too, because say Forsen does win with Warrior against your Hunter, then you get the word of whether or not he's going to switch. So if he's going to switch, he's going to be on Hunter, and then you can queue in your Priest into him instead of queuing in Handlock. And vice versa. Like, if you play Hunter into his Hunter and he wins with that, you know if he's going to switch or not, so then you can, again, queue it up in the matchup that you see fit for it. So no surprise that Forsen chooses to use Warrior into Hunter when he gets the word that D2 is not switching decks.
All right, so he is going to start off with Warrior. He gets Cruel Taskmaster, but that's pretty much the only card he wants to keep early on. Does he want to get that Fiery War Axe? I think so.
You pretty much need it in every single one of these matchups, it feels like. Yeah, D2 should definitely be looking for Death Rattles once he's got Undertaker.
Oh, he does run Unleash the Hounds.
D2 is the one with the Unleash the Hounds. That's what we were.
Yeah.
Not number guy.
Nope. And D2, once again, with another poor start. You know, as much as we've been talking about how D2 has been able to take the game in the series, it feels like his starts generally have been extremely weak.
Some of them have been, yes. And some of them, it's like polarized. Like, he either has like pretty weak starts or he has really strong starts. And regardless of which, he's actually been winning the games. So that does make a difference. Picks up a death rattle, but silence already active on the board.
Yeah, this is good.
That feels so brutal to play web spin around just to the board that way.
Nope. But feels good for Forsen. He's able to snipe off and clear the board. That's important. You know, it's not Fiery War Axe, but I think this is the next best option. Stabilize, kill off Undertaker, have board control.
You know, Jungle Panther's actually a pretty good pickup in this matchup because the stealth means it's not going to get removed by very much, so this is actually almost always 4 points of damage.
Yeah, and then how do they remove it? They have to use a minion or their own face for the weapon, and that's 8 damage. It's just basically a delayed huffer in a sense.
Yep. Suspended huffer.
The suspended huffer.
Crouching huffer. Hidden taskmaster.
Yeah, we'll work on that joke after the cast. But you had some good stuff in there. We'll reevaluate and make sure to get the next one going pretty good, all right? We'll play some best of fives with jokes.
Okay,
D2 has Sludge Belcher, right? So this is pretty good momentum on his side.
Yeah.
As he's starting to do damage every single time.
Oh, that's such an awful draw right now. I wonder what his secret he got was. So the secret he got wasn't Snake Trap. That's what we know. Because he was able to play Snake Trap from his hand. So we assume it's Freezing Trap at this point. We haven't seen Explosive Trap from him, I don't think, have we?
I don't recall. I know Number Guy was playing Freezing Trap. I know Lothar was playing Freezing Trap. Or, sorry, Explosive Trap.
Forcing him to choose to play Armor Smith before he uses this Whirlwind effect, really valuing the 1 HP.
1 HP does matter.
Yeah.
Does he Shield Slam? I guess not. He has armor. He has the armor that he does now, plus he can Shield Block, Shield Slam, so he feels comfortable with keeping the Shield Slam right now. Especially since an impending high main is coming here.
Yep. Savannah high main. This is the nightmare spot for most warriors. He's having to fight through this.
Ooh.
Picks up a Win-X.
So, is there a way to do this without shield block? Okay. Well, I guess he's going to answer. Like, if you attacked into the 1-2 and then armored up shield slam, you would have still gotten... Like, you wouldn't have to use shield block.
Sure.
But I guess in this case, you still can use Fiery War Axe. So maybe.
What do you think of using Cruel? What do you think of using Cruel Taskmaster there? And then is it too much to risk into a freezing trap? Like, say he Cruel Taskmaster was the armor smith and attacks.
Well, yeah, I think it does because the armor smith you want to stick on the board, right?
I think so. If it's freezing trap and you make that line of play, you're gonna. I mean, you lose a lot of momentum that way.
Here's a nice thing though. Double armor smith.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure on the board. I would be very surprised if the command wasn't used.
Yeah, there's ways for it to get past. If there wasn't and you had to crash the gates the hard way, that is one method Forsen can run away with the game. How do you do this?
I would just be shocked if there was no... I mean, I guess we can just calculate how much life you give him. So, Hunter's Mark, 1-2, attack into the 1-2, 3-4, attack into the other Armor Smith. Oh, yeah, this would just be way too much. I think you just have to... I think Kill Command's definitely going to come out here. I don't mind using Unleash the Hounds. You don't have a lot of follow-up game versus Brawl as it is. So just any Brawl is going to be kind of bad for you. And as much as you don't want to influence your opponent brawling here, again, you just don't have a follow-up to it. So I think it's just fine.
A bit of hesitation, but I think so too. I think you need to get that damage, and Unleash the Hounds is not that useful in this matchup traditionally anyways. Warrior rarely gets to play a big full board of stuff compared to Shaman or Paladin or any other class that naturally fills it up. Especially as the game develops, they're going to be dropping 1 or 2 creatures. So I think using it now is also okay. Uh-oh, is there a problem? because
Oh,
Forsen's waiting for action, and D2 looks like on his
yep.
perspective has played the Unleash the Hounds. Oh, Forsen was disconnecting.
All right, so we're trying to reconnect to the game right now.
Whoa, and
Um,
suddenly doggies.
wow, so
Wait, what?
D2
Oh
disconnected on his turn.
no!
So D2 disconnected on his turn and his time ran out.
Oh,
So
that's
the
so
game has
bad.
reconnected. Yeah, the game has reconnected, and Forsen has basically gotten a free turn, and he's got 2 armor smiths out. This
Oh
is so
no.
bad for
You have to
D2.
feel bad for D2. Wow. Oh no. It seems like he's completely disconnected.
Yep.
That is really unfortunate. You know, this happened in the previous series, didn't it? In the series number 1 between
Yeah.
Forsen and D2. I think D2 and Forsen were really close, and then D2 disconnected close to the finish line, and then Forsen got the game 1 win, and all of a sudden, fast forward to right now, we're having the same exact scenario.
Yeah, so a disconnect in this scenario, the rules state that the player who's disconnected is actually going to be given a game loss. So that is going to tie the series. I mean, it's unfortunate for any game to end that way, of course, but it is going to be 1-1 at this point. Forsen, you know, he's awarded the win based on the disconnect. It's the rules of the tournament, unfortunately, but it's the way it has to be. So,
Yeah.
going to be going into the next game. Hunter is going to be eliminated.
Wow, what a brand new series because of that. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, if he was able to gain a lot of life from the Armor Smith, evaluating Forsen from that point on compared to the hand of D2 like really needed to make that work because he lost his high main really easily, and I don't really know the follow-up push from D2 without seeing the draws in his deck. So I think Forsen, it's reasonable to say that he had a slight advantage from that position, you think, with all the life gain that he had? Because you're using kill command, you're using all your other reach in order to get through here.
Yeah, I mean, I would venture to say that he was going to lose that game because his option to not have Armorsmith run away with the game is probably like kill command Armorsmith, which takes away a lot of your reach. And Forsen had quite a bit of gas left. I mean, it's still anyone's game at that point, but I definitely would. I think there's a pretty distinct advantage to Forsen in that game.
Okay. Well, now D2 has Priest and his Handlock remaining. Forsen does have the choice of initiative. How are you feeling this situation so far? Do you feel like Warrior we can stay here, or do you think Hunter we need to get that out of the way, or do you want to try to corner the Handlock so that way your Hunter can face off against it in a favorable matchup?
Well, I think you want to stay with Warrior basically because of what you just said. Like Priest versus Warrior isn't going to be that bad, and if he wants to queue up Handlock versus you, you know, it's still you're in the same kind of situation where it's just not that bad. Whereas if you choose to switch, your opponent knows you're switching, so they just get to queue up Priest into your Hunter, which is the matchup that they want to play anyway. So I think you just force him to pick how he wants to coin flip, or close to coin flip the matchup anyway, and kind of go from there. Because again, I think Handlock versus Warrior, I think it's a really close matchup, and I think Priest versus Warrior is pretty close too. But again, D2 is a Warrior player. He kind of understands how the deck's going to function and what it needs to do, and he's you know, trying to stave off the attack from that perspective. You know, it's a much more unique perspective when you're playing both classes, and then you're playing a matchup from one side or the other. You a lot of times can know something your opponent doesn't know, and that can influence a lot of things.
Okay, so I think I can get behind that as well. Then Warrior start things off for game number 3. D2 most likely will pick whatever he feels like is the strongest, but hopefully for him, if he wins this game, then he can corner the Hunter with his own Priest.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we should try to be doing.
All right. And we just got confirmation from the admins that it was unfortunately going to be a disconnect win for Forsen, which you know, unfairly puts a blemish on what possibly could have been just it was a very likely win anyways, based off of what the Warrior position was. But of course, Hunter always never fails to surprise us with what they can do, pulling out of tight situations and still winning the game. Ain't that right, Adam?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those decks that's like, it's got so many power draws, and the hero power of 2 damage really makes a big impact. And so the 2 matches where it struggles when it finds itself behind, of course, are Warrior and Priest, the 2 classes that can heal for 2. So if they manage to card for card you basically you're at a stalemate the entire time, and kind of going from there. So definitely not out of the matchup. You know, if he just puts together a string of a couple good draws. I mean, we've seen it happen all tournament long. People have drawn 2 or 3 cards in a row and put together a series where instead of just outright losing, they were actually able to turn the entire match around and come back and win.
Yeah, and D2 is one of those guys who's been turning it around quite often, whether it's his series against RDU, being able to narrowly take that and then carrying it all the way into Lothar and Forsen series, which has brought him here. He's had quite the journey, and we've had quite the series so far in the tournament. Again, shout out to Mad Catz and LeaseWeb for being able to sponsor this event. We're waiting for D2 to reconnect, guys. That's probably why we're stalling so long, because he obviously disconnected. There's not as simple as, well, let's just go into game number 3. And so apparently D2 is not able to log in right now.
Yeah, this could be bad news. I'm curious exactly how long the delay could be if he's not able to log in. That could be pretty brutal. Yeah, man, some of the crazy games. I still think that the Forsen versus D2 Mage versus Warrior game is the craziest game we've seen the entire tournament so far. Where he was able to pick it back up and run away from it, and run away with it. I mean, it's just like an almost unwinnable matchup and going from there.
We talk about crazy games. I saw a Priest versus Hunter game, which was also crazy for perhaps different reasons. But yeah, I'll let you guys speculate as to what I'm talking about. We're going to take a quick commercial break to get all of our tech issues sorted out. Hopefully you can get D2 online so we can finish out this series. Don't go anywhere, guys. Battle of the Best continues right after this. guys, we're getting more status updates as to how the grand finals will progress. Apparently, Battle.net went down all across the European server, so we are trying to figure out if the server will be back up or if we need to switch. But I think Europe is back up, as far as I know. Is that correct, Nathan?
It looks like the EU is back up, according to the word we're having. What I'm curious about is because if that's a disconnect due to the entire Battle.net going down, is that still a loss for DTwo? That's something I'm curious about.
Right, because that means Forsen also disconnected then, right?
Yeah, I've gotten tweets about it. Some people telling me the entire EU is down. You know, we checked on multiple accounts. No one could log in on EU on the side of in terms of like administration, being able to run things. So I think this loss is going to be changed. If the case was that the entire EU went down, which seems to be a confirmation. We've had so many people not be able to log in on accounts so far. So I think that it only makes sense, I think, to have a remake in that scenario.
Yep. So if that's the case, then the series is still 1-0 in favor of D2, and then we're just going to remake the match, Warrior versus Hunter, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's exactly what happens. There's no loss awarded, and Forsen will have to play against D2 again with the same exact matchup, so no win for him, which is fine. You know, honestly, that's just not the way you want to claim a win, especially twice, and the fact that it's in 3 series that you've played online. Not to mention that the game was still pretty tightly contested up until, well, basically the moment it was disconnected. We were about to find out whether or not Forsen would have...
Whether he was going to run away with the armor game, or whether or not he was going to have to use kind of keep fighting for the board position and making sure that he can fend off his opponent's attack. So, like you said, still a pretty open game. I think the advantage was in Forsen's favor, but you know, again, if Battle.net crashes, no one should be awarded a loss because no one can play on the server. So, it's just unfortunate, but that's the way. A wise man once told me that technology was the vehicle of esports, and then sometimes that vehicle stalls. Right. Yeah,
that's right. We're gonna have a rematch for game number 2. If you find out if that technology vehicle will hold up, so to speak. As we do have a couple of stability issues, but we should be able to move past it. Warrior versus Hunter is pretty... I think we just had a pretty good show of what we can expect in the matchup overall. And I think the recovery bounce for like Forsen was so important because he didn't have Fiery War Axe in the beginning, and he had the Iron Beak Owl instead, which is a cool answer to Undertaker. I was seeing a lot of players chat about it, especially since Show was introducing the Iron Beak Owl with Hogger and everything else. And they felt like turn 2 Iron Beak Owl to answer the Undertaker was probably the best response you usually can get, other than just Fiery War Axe. So.
Yeah, just having just one extra answer to it too is gonna like increase your chance to draw one by about 50% going into those early turns. So like Fiery War Axe, of course, you know, we've seen it all tournament. If Warriors draw it early, they typically have a pretty massive advantage. But Iron Beak Owl can get the job done too. And something even as simple as like you know, your opponent maybe not drawing a Death Rattle can really influence things. And then Cruel Taskmaster's really pulling a lot of weight in that matchup, of course, either killing 1-health minions or like say an Armorsmith sticks to the board and they can Cruel Taskmaster that and run it into an Undertaker. A lot of different ways they have to actually deal with it from that perspective. Of course, Fiery War Axe usually being the most direct and efficient answer, but not to say it's the only way to go.
All right. Well, I guess we're still waiting for D2 to log back in. So I guess we can just chat about anything else we want that's related onto the topic.
Let's talk about some of the upsets that we saw in this tournament so far. I mean, like just in the first round of the tournament alone, I mean, StrifeCro and RDU both got knocked down to the losers bracket, and RDU actually won his game in the losers bracket by default because StrifeCro was unavailable for his match. So no telling where that would have came out from. And then I also want to talk about like how much the time zones and the like the time zone differences, and like so when these players are awake and you know, in the evening or in the morning or wherever they are, how much that influences their play, because we've seen some excellent play from a lot of these players, but the ones who are a little bit fatigued and perhaps in the wrong time zone, some questionable plays, I think, in some really key spots where there wasn't really that many sequencings or you know, sequences to sort through. It was just kind of, it was one way or the other. D2 actually has just come back too, so we're going to ignore all of those boring conversations that I'm sure all of you want to hear about, but never will. It's going to be lost to time. D2 is back in. Forsen's here. we're going to be heading into a remake of Game 2. There was an entire BattleNet disconnect, so no forfeiture on either side.
That's right. It's things that are out of control. At least for these two guys. Once again, Warrior versus Hunter, a Golden Hunter portrait. But this is not D2's account, it's Powder's account. It's one of his buddies, his teammate, who also performed well at Seed Story Cup. And this time around, Forsen is well equipped, so to speak, to handle any Undertaker pressure.
Yeah, not going to be Undertaker pressure, but certainly pressure nonetheless. God, both these players with pretty fantastic hands, too.
Yeah, if you don't have Undertaker, I feel like just having good card draw is one of the best replacements for it.
Oh, wow. That might have been the best draw in his deck.
I think so. What else is better than Armorsmith on turn 2 to answer a small 1-1?
He does have a couple of questions in front of him now, though. Is it just want to put minions onto the board, or does he actually want to answer this with the Eagle Horn Bow straight away?
Well, I think Forsen's also going to introduce another element of trying to make his opponent uncomfortable with an Acolyte of Pain. So if you go for the Eagle Horn Bow, which do you snipe? The card draw or the armor gain?
Probably the card draw. I mean, that's one of the hardest ways for you to actually pick back up from the game is if the Warrior just gets too strong of a lead. Hogger joins the hand. DTwo picked up Tundra Rhino from Web Spinner, but this is not as beast-centric deck as we've seen in the past. Oh, wow, and he gets Ironbeak Owl to deny a trap as well.
That's excellent. You know, if he gets another Web Spinner and he gets really powerful creatures like, you know, Core Hound and the Beast, this Tundra Rhino can do some work.
The Beast.
Yep.
It'd be beastly this game. That was a tough joke to make.
Yeah. I'm just going to let that one sink in for a little bit. In the meantime, Forsen did end up losing his Armorsmith, but at the cost of double weapon charges against the Acolyte as well as the Armorsmith. So Forsen sitting at a very comfortable health.
Yeah, it's gonna
turn 6, and he's 25 health.
Yeah, not too much happening in the way of making decisions. Outside of the Eagle Horn Bow, everything's been pretty straightforward so far. Forsen's had a very strong curve, really well mulliganed. Same on D2's side. It's just, you know, the cards for Warrior, the way they match up against Hunter, when both of you draw really well, I think that the Warrior's got a pretty distinct advantage coming into it. And we can actually also see that D2 doesn't have a Savannah Hyman available, so it's likely to put a pretty big dent in his board in the next couple of turns. If he doesn't manage to draw one next turn, it's going to look really bad.
Yeah, I don't foresee a way for D2 to easily deal with this other than just trying to answer Sludge Belcher with his own Sludge Belcher.
Yep.
Of course,
I think that's what you should be doing.
Crossing your fingers and hoping your opponent doesn't have Black Knight or something equivalent to just completely ruin your day.
Yep.
Huh.
A pretty heads-up play here, too. This is actually... I like this a lot because if there's a Whirlwind effect, like D2 doesn't know Forsen's deck 100%. No, we're going to zoom in on Hogger because he's a beast. Not exactly a beast. He doesn't even make beasts. He just makes gnolls, which I don't even think have...
They're creatures of some kind.
I don't know if they have creature types attached to them. They're creatures nonetheless. Anyway, so he wants to run in the Leopardom there to play around like Whirlwind effects. So, say that like it would have gotten like swept away in something. That's just 2 less damage he would have had onto the Sludge Belcher, and now his Sludge Belcher is directly contesting his opponent. So, a little bit of a difference being made there.
Wow. There's also Baron Geddon to help sweep. There's also Cool Taskmaster and Death Spite on the following turn to help pick apart the board. Tundra Rhino to get through the 1-2.
And Snake Trap as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be curious how Forsen chooses to do this.
I think he's going to have to evaluate because now he doesn't have the taunts to protect Hogger. There will be one that's after the end of this turn. But now this Tundra Rhino won't die. If he had Execute to reach through, that'd be so nice and convenient. But now things are slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's got to think about what the traps are, too.
Snake Trap.
this is like one of the bad news ones right now. This is going to help push through and make sure that that Hogger's taken care of. Which isn't like one of the worst things in the world. I mean, he's going to be at a pretty healthy life total. Yeah, I like attacking here as well. Oh, he's going to try to shut down as much as he can. If D2 draws a beast, he's going to be able to handle this. But outside of that, cheering through this null.
Man, if he gets like a Savannah high main.
Oh, geez. Savannah High Mob has shown up and is about to rain terror on this position.
Well.
He's got to be really careful on how he chooses to do this, though, because if he messes this up, he can just he won't deal his opponent as much damage, and then just the Baron Geddon will be able to clean it up. He doesn't know, of course, his opponent doesn't have Baron Geddon, but it's certainly a legendary that you can expect from some of your warrior opponents and should be in mind when you're going into a turn like this. This turn is extremely, extremely tough to navigate from a very subtle standpoint. It's just like it's like that one little thing to think about. Like if he goes into his opponent's turn, he's like, "Oh, I didn't think about Baron Geddon." It can almost quite literally cost him the game at this point.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a mistake I think he wanted to avoid too. Yeah, this is going to be really good for Forsen now. This just went from like a disaster to being very easily recoverable.
Yep, because now Baron Geddon cleans up shop. Well, you know, originally we thought, I mean, how do you necessarily calculate that, the odds of him having it versus the risk and reward of keeping Hogger up?
I think it's
a hard call to make.
Well, he can kill the Hogger that way. He should have put the he should have sacrificed his Tundra Rhino is what he should have done. He should have put the Savannah High Main into
2-2.
Yeah, into the taunt and then gone the other way. But this is like, it's like, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of flack for people telling me that I'm coming from an ultimate perspective, but like, look at how this scenario unfolds when Baron Geddon is your opponent's play. It's almost unwinnable. It's like, how does he recover from this circumstance? He had Loot Hoarder and Loatheb in his hand, so he needs to be thinking about all of his opponent's potential counterplays when he does it, not necessarily just like whatever's the most straight up efficient play.
Okay, Forsen has good counter options to try to shut down what his opponent's doing on the following turn with Loatheb. I wonder if Gromosh can also come out here. What do you think?
I would tend to play the Loatheb here, I think.
Okay. He is thinking about it, but just to cover your bases, as much as the play might seem obvious. Oh, Gromosh.
Yeah, so he does. So Gromosh is going to hit the board. He actually doesn't have to attack with it. This 2 damage is going to trigger Enrage. 17. Oh, I guess this is.
I suppose it's a lethal.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't accounting for the 2 damage that Baron Geddon was actually dealing the face. This makes way more sense.
Sure. And that's not going to do it. He has no way to stop this damage. That's going to do it for game number 2. So all's well that ends well, I suppose. Forsen almost got a DC win, but ends up earning it the right way. And now the series has been tied up. We can go back to all the theory crafting that we said about 25-30 minutes ago. About D2 probably should go to his priest or handlock and try to corner Forsen's hunter here. So, yep, it's all about good.
Yeah, I like throwing handlock in there first. It definitely is the way to. I think it's almost. Well, it depends on whether or not Forsen's switching. This is where it comes from. So if Forsen announces that he's switching, he should play with priest. If Forsen's not switching, he should play handlock. That way he can figure out which deck he needs to actually line up versus which one. So in the 1-1 scenario, not too terribly much variation that's happening. You're going to be seeing the matchups line up just about how the player that wants to line them up should be happening. So an opportunity for your opponent to make a mistake, however.
Yeah. Now we go to this very pivotal game because I think just to explain it one more time. Forsen can switch if he wants to. So if he chooses to go with his hunter, D2 will line up with the priest. So that heavily implies he was going to stay with the warrior because it has a pretty good chance, which means D2 will most likely pick his handlock to answer the warrior. So that way he can have this priest against hunter. That's almost certain of what we're expecting, but we've been wrong in the past where guys were like, yeah, even though this matches up good, I'm just going to throw in Miracle Rogue because why not?
Yeah.
not the case necessarily in this series, but in the past, the players have been hard to predict sometimes, which also makes it fun. I think the metagame's in a healthy place, honestly.
I do too. Like, Hunter is obviously very powerful, but that's not to say there's not a way to beat it. So, Forsen's not going to swap decks. He's going to stick with Warrior. D2, he's playing Warlock. We're heading into game 3. We know he's playing Handlock too, so this match is really going to come down to whether or not he can put together Mountain Giant and Twilight Drakes early on. And Shield Slam, I'm really surprised he chooses a mulligan Shield Slam here, actually.
He knows this is Handlock, right?
I mean, he has to know.
I mean, a few times in the past, Forsen got completely destroyed because he wasn't expecting Zoo and he pushed away his Fiery War Axe.
Oh gosh, at WCA.
Right.
Oh geez, that was brutal. 2 Mountain Giants in D2's hand straight away.
Well, he's got a way to activate his Execute now.
I like developing the War Axe. I mean, once you decide to mulligan the Shield Slam, you should be developing War Axe, I think.
Okay.
He's got 2 ways to activate his Execute. And Mountain Giant's going to hit the board this turn. Forsen hasn't answered the first one, but the second one likely to be troublesome.
Hogger not going to be it. But I don't really expect Hogger to have much impact in this matchup anyways. It's very easy for Handlock to deal with that card.
Doesn't seem like the best card. It's like, oh, I'll have to Shadow Flame my Ancient Watcher and kill everything that you have.
Even if you let Hogger build up for 4 turns.
Yeah. Second Mountain Giant. Does Forsen have Big Game Hunter in this deck?
I want to say yes. Because we've seen it in the past. Remember he had the cool Taskmaster, his Big Game Hunter? So I think he does.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have it right now. Maybe that was what he was mulliganing for too.
What do you think about just jamming Hogger down this turn?
Let's see. Turn 6, your opponent can Siphon the Soul, Shadow Flame, and Ancient Watch. I don't know. There's a lot of things your opponent can do to make that backfire.
A lot of thoughts. It's just, this is gonna be this damage is gonna add up so quickly. Oh, he's got Faceless Manipulator on the Mountain Giant too. It's about what I expected. I mean, there's not really much else in the way of how else to develop a big board. And yeah, Hogger's gonna come down now for sure. He's just got to get something in the way. Forsen having to pay 8 life to deal with this first giant too. He's already falling short on life. Let's see what D2 picks up. This next draw is pretty critical. Gosh, if that was Shadow Flame.
Yep, Shadow Flame to clear the board, smack your opponent down, have lethal next turn.
I don't want to think about those things.
It'd be pretty devastating. He still has a really strong card. Still, Twilight Drake against Warrior is great.
Yeah, I mean, once they fail to have a removal spell for the second guy, the floodgates feel like they're open. You always have Brawl in mind, but his backup plan to Brawl is pretty darn strong, I'd say.
Well, for now, Hogger actually had some pretty good use. Assuming he doesn't get soul fired.
I'd like to see him.
He's gonna soul fire Hogger. Yeah, that's too bad.
I'd like to see him. I didn't want him to life tap. That was the one thing I didn't want him to do, but it's fine. Oh yeah, Jiraxis. Is anyone surprised by that? That's the law of Soulfire. If you have Jiraxis in hand, then Soulfire discards Jiraxis. If not, then it discards Doomguard. Even if you don't have Doomguard in your hand, it discards Doomguard.
Is it time for the YOLO rag?
Well, it's got one really bad target unless he chooses to use his attack into this Twilight Drake. I don't even know if this is like a winning play. It's just like something that hits the board and you hope it ends well.
It's a play. He wants to hit the giant. No!
Oh my gosh, it goes directly for face, and that is a huge swing in this game. Molten Giants are active. D2's got his own Ragnaros. This game is looking really bad for Forsen.
Oh man, I don't even want to look anymore. He doesn't have the guaranteed kill But he can go
Well,
for a 50-50 to just
yeah,
win the
well,
game.
he has an effective kill on this. So, like, say he puts 8 points of damage to the face, and Ragnaros is on the board. If Ragnaros hits Ragnaros or the face, like either of those targets are just totally fine.
Right. But then,
Yeah, so this is just a big leverage point.
yeah, I think you just play Ragnaros. You don't need to play Molten Giants because then you give Brawl to be potential.
Yeah, there's not even
Winner.
any reason to play it.
Yeah.
Just now they're active. So even if Forsen manages to recover from this nightmare scenario, D2's got 2 Molten Giants and then a Taunter to follow that up. It's just so bad. Such a bad situation to be in. This is why all those removal spells are so important. This is one of the reasons I think I don't want to mulligan Shield Slams, because this is the scenario you're trying to avoid, is them kind of snowballing the game out of control with 1 or 2 of these minions.
Oh, man. Well, here's the 50-50 to win the game and go up 2-1 in the series. D2 thinking about a second if he wants to play Molten Giants, but I don't think you do.
Oh, yeah, you don't need to. Ragnaros goes straight for the dough. 2-0 for 2 games to 1 now for D2 on the back of an extremely good handlock draw, dismantling everything that Forsen played. Forsen had to use a Fiery War Axe to take 8 points of damage to finish off the first Mountain Giant. That was his answer to it, and that's just... I'm sorry, to answer the second Mountain Giant. He had execute for the first one. But after that happens, D2's got to feel so comfortable in his deck, because why would Forsen be taking 8 damage when he just could not take 8 damage? So after that, just a rain of minions on the board, and then Ragnaros. It's like almost doesn't even matter which target Ragnaros hits. Again, if it hits the Ragnaros, then he's got 3 minions on the board to 0, and if it hits his face, he's won the game. So that sort of the RNG leverage, if that's what you want to call it, really making a big impact.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now D2 is 1 game away from taking the tournament, and that'd be a great way to celebrate his BlizzCon championship qualification if he's able to come out with a big win against some of the people that he'll be seeing later in the tournament. We had StrifeGrow in the tournament. We had Number Guy, 2 other BlizzCon finalists. And what does it say that D2 is the one who emerges victorious, despite odds? He did lose games in the past due to his internet connection, so it's like he's playing with a handicap in a sense.
No doubt about that. Plus, it's super early in the morning for him over in Japan. He's been up all night, and I'm sure his sleep schedule is not agreeing with his Hearthstone play.
Sure.
I've
Makes
been there
a lot
before.
of sense to me. So
Hearthstone dictates my sleep.
D2 going to queue up Handlock into Hunter, give it another go, but if he loses, it's okay. He still has the Priest.
All right, game 4.
We're expecting Forsen to do well here, but we've also seen great draws from D2 in the past to deal with the Hunter.
Yep. This looks like a really good draw, but again, we saw how D2 won the first Handlock game. It was with an Ancient Watcher and then a Silence really early on. So this hand could be like deceptively powerful, because if he wants to life tap in his first couple of turns to make sure that he can get to his Mountain Giants, it really puts a big hurt on his ability to actually affect the early game, and you can see he's aware of that in this matchup. So no surprise to see him play to get rid of Molten Giant, because he has to play minions early on. So he's already started off strong. This Ancient Watcher, I think it's pretty likely to get coined out here, and then Sunfury Protector on turn 2.
Yep. I completely agree. I think you need to stop the damage as fast as you can. You have ways you can follow it up to on turn 4. You can play a reasonable sized Azure Drake, Faceless Manipulator, a taunt that comes out on the following end. D2 has a pretty decent hand, but now on the flip side, part of the reason why the hand worked before was because he could take initiative on the board and he could attack the face and add some damage in. Everything he has right now is very reactive and anticipating what your opponent has.
This Animal Companion is so important. That's a pretty good one right now, I'd say.
Kodo. Oh man, he can snipe these 2/3s, Defender of Argus and the Sunfury Protectors.
Curious how much that's going to matter. Okay, here's something interesting to think about too. Oh my gosh, he kicks up an Ironbeak Owl to deny a trap. That's a major deal. Every little thing really adding up to a lot so far. And this is going to be Twilight Yeti.
So you were going to ask me a question?
Was I going to ask you a question?
No. Were you going to ask me a question?
I don't remember.
You said, "Here's a question," and then you said, "Oh, Ironbeak."
Oh, well, I think it was before. I think it was before just the draw playing itself for one reason or another.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Well, Forsen getting the snipe on the Sun Fury Protector, and that way doesn't have to worry about freezing trap and being able to be really effective. Sludge Belcher is a pretty powerful draw.
Wow, he just calls it out too. He's like, "Hey, if that's freezing trap, you got me." Now he's aware that that's snake trap.
No, he saw it in the previous turns when he was attacking with the Sun Fury Protector.
Did he really?
Yes. Does this Leac change anything? Does Unleash the Hounds become slightly better? Maybe.
I missed that. Gosh, Unleash the Hound. Everything feels so brutal right now. He's going to have to overkill almost anything he does, except for kill command. I think he should just be kill commanding.
Kill command is your way to reach past the Molten Giants, though.
Yeah. I don't understand the purpose of this right here. Like you're still overkilling this, and like.
It's because you keep.
I mean, I guess it's fine. Yeah. You also deal your Kodo a lot of damage too, though.
Which is okay. He still has what, the snake trap, right? So it's Shadow Flame.
Yeah.
But we still have the snake trap, so that way you can perhaps retaliate. But then now there's Shadow Flame to clear everything. So.
Wow, this is a really peculiar spot. I'm curious how much race potential D2 has.
So many possibilities.
Like, can he just attack for 4 and then Faceless Manipulator is 4/5?
That's a tough call. He is sitting at a much more comfortable health than what you normally expect on turn 6. So I think he can afford to Faceless and
wow.
just be a little bit more aggressive.
Wow. This is something you don't see every day.
Now do you Freezing Trap? Suppose so.
Yep. He's going full down. Oh my gosh, both these players just racing each other. No thought of attacking their opponent's minions anymore. And this could get kind of ugly for D2 now. I imagine he's going to kind of wall up behind these guys and sit tight for a little bit. Oh, he draws a Molten Giant.
It's not bad at all. Molten Giant, it fits the range right here.
So he's going to Shadow Flame
Shadow
if he's
Flame.
making this plane. Yeah. Which is, I think, I don't know if that's the best play or not.
It's giving 2 charges to the bow.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm not sure if it's the best.
He also can Farseer Shadow Flame, keep his Jake healthy.
Yeah, but then he loses the Leac still there.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, so he goes forward to the dome, Shadow
that's
Flame
so
says, and then
annoying.
Earth and rings himself.
That's pretty annoying. I suppose that's what you have to do then.
Yeah. It still looks like he's coming up pretty far ahead. Like, if Forsen deals him too much damage, he's just going to be able to play Molten Giant and then taunt up behind the Sun Fury Protector. And then Forsen's going to hero power him down really close. Oh my gosh, and that's got to be one of the worst draws in his deck. Does he kill the Earthen Ring or does he attack his face? If he puts his opponent too low, he's going to activate Molten Giant.
Yeah, he's got
That's something we
charges
have to
with
think
his bow
about.
for a while too.
Yeah.
That's another
I
body
agree
for a
with that.
taunt too, right? That's another body for a taunt.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
and
another
thing
Farseer.
D2 is starting to run away with this match, by the way. This is really bad news for Forsen. Leopard Gnome's not it. I think he's got to go all in at this point and just kind of hope his opponent doesn't have a way to taunt up. But then he's also got to think about how to play around Jiraxxus, which I don't think he can play around both. I think he's just got to hope his opponent's hand is full of
But
utility
that's
stuff
gonna do
that's
it,
making impact.
right? Jiraxxus is lethal,
Yep.
and D2 is gonna take the championship of Battle of the Best,
Well,
despite
still-
being down 0-2.
he's got the
in
option to
series
kill
over.
command. This 3/3. Wow, look at Forsen.
Oh.
He's going to try to live one more
Wow.
turn. I think D2 can basically close this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So his opponent would have to have a beast and a kill command next turn to deal him 14 damage. So outside of Leroy Jenkins, he's not really dying to anything. But if he plays Defender of Argus, his opponent's got to have something like Hunter's Mark or a Silence, or even like a beast and 2 kill commands afterwards. I like this play a lot. This puts your opponent in a very precarious situation. If they don't deal with this Molten Giant, they're dead to Jiraxxus next turn. He draws Hunter's Mark,
Oh man.
but he doesn't have a way to kill this Defender of Argus still.
Oh, you're right. This Defender of
Oh.
Argus.
My gosh, and Forsen is about to
He's
face
2
Jiraxis.
damage off lethal.
Oh my gosh. Replaces the bow.
Wow.
And Jiraxis is going to finish this game. This
You
is
face Jiraxis.
Eridor, Lord of the Burning Legion. Let's see how many emotes get thrown out here. This is what we've been waiting for all tournament. And look at that beautiful, handsome man. Forsen's not even going to allow it. He's just going to concede. Oblivion! He spams it over and over again. Wow, unbelievable. D2's able to pick 2 games off of Hunter with Handlock in back-to-back series versus Forsen. Ancient Watcher, so important in this matchup. Showing a lot of discipline in mulliganing those Mountain Giants, too. So many matches are lost by having the life tap and relying on Mountain Giant to get it done when that just sacrifices too much time and you're not able to recover from it. Showing, just again, a lot of discipline in mulliganing for Ancient Watcher and making sure that he activates it early.
Yep, well done overall to D2. He's able to take the entire tournament, and he came from the loser's bracket having to win 2 series against Forsen, who defeated him earlier. The bracket summarizes it all. Forsen will go home $600 today, and D2 will be taking home $1,000. And of course, shout out to Number Guy, 3rd place, gets $400. And that will do it for Battle of the Best. We're gonna have an interview with D2 for a couple of minutes to just talk to him, see how he's doing, seeing if you know, his body is able to hold up due to the lack of sleep deprivation from the intense hours that he hasn't played this tournament. I believe he's coming into Skype, but before we do that, we're going to take a quick break to get ready for the winner interview. So guys, stick around if you want to see what D2 has to say about his win and get to know our champion a little bit better.
Do you need webcam or no? Okay.
Welcome back, everybody. We have D2 on the line, who's fresh off of his win and probably really exhausted. So, dude, how are you feeling, man? Are you okay? Are you gonna make it? You gonna be able to make your plane on time for BlizzCon?
Well, it's a good thing that the play is on for a few more days, but yeah, it's I'm not gonna lie, it's been a struggle the last couple days. So.
Sure. So I guess the first thing that I know I want to ask was to rewind back to that priest game that you played against Number Guy's Hunter, and a lot of people were confused, us included, as to whether or not you were basically trying to go for fatigue game kill versus were you just trying to evaluate something else. People wanted to know more specifically about your choice of line there. So can you talk about that game a little bit more in depth?
Yeah, basically, I do want to explain it because I turned on the stream and I caught the end of you guys like kind of like, you know, not agreeing with my decision. But like basically, first of all, my first excuse is I'm really like sleepy and tired, and it's been pretty tough.
Sure.
But
yeah, of course.
But like essentially, I knew it was explosive trap. I mean, I tested at some point. And I basically didn't want my guys to get hurt and for him to get more bow charges. That was the biggest issue. I felt like I didn't want to give him any bow charges until I had a way to deal with things coming on the board, like and like the damage that he would output, because he would just start sitting for my face, and then all of a sudden, you know. And then I also wanted to save, you know, heal for every single turn. So I didn't feel like I had enough mana and resources to be able to deal with his board if he just floods the board. Particularly since my guys would probably just die to him flooding the board anyway. But toward the end of the game, basically I got so caught up in, and I knew that he was getting close to fatigue, so I figured I could win that way. But toward the end of the game, I was getting so caught up in just like not dying, and I saw that I was close to fatigue as well. So I was basically between being really tired and you know, just being you know, just kind of being nervous as well, and really focusing on just not dying, because I knew if I didn't die, I would probably win. And then so I basically was just focusing on like how many turns until I fatigue, how much turns until he fatigue, and like and also I knew I had a holy fire left, so I was like, where is my holy fire? That was the other thing I was completely fixated upon. And then so basically I was like, okay, I'm not gonna die. Like if he has unleashed kill command, he kills me here, so I need to like play around that, and then like everything I wanted to play around, because I knew that it was a really uphill battle if I played you know, handlock into his hunter. So I just like was so focused on not dying. I needed to win the game, and I was pretty nervous as well. And then it was just like I need to heal every time. I just can't die. And then there was a turn where like before I drew my last card, I was like, wait a second, maybe I could have had lethal the last turn. I didn't even like really thinking about it. So
Yeah.
so yeah, it wasn't BM. I heard you guys saying like it was like huge BM, but it wasn't BM. It was just misplay.
Oh, it was.
So
it was.
Oh, it was
not
it was definitely BM.
intentional.
Not
it wasn't intentional apparently, but it was definitely BM.
I want to ask you a question. You mentioned that nerves are really coming into a factor this, and I feel like it was the same thing at Stage 2 in BlizzCon. You know, I've seen you play before. I played with you. I've played against you. You know, we've spoken a little bit about Hearthstone, and you have a really keen mind for the game. But when you get on stage and under those lights like that, it seems like the nerves are really clouding your vision a lot. What have you been doing to work on that so that way that's not the same case at BlizzCon?
Well, one of the big things is that it's not only nerves, it's also being like sleep deprived, and unfortunately the two of my biggest appearances as far as viewers is I've been both sleep deprived and you know nervous as well. As far as being I think that combination is really just like a killer, I think, because
Yeah, of course.
when it's hard to think when you're sleepy, obviously, and then like when you're nervous, you get fixated on one thing and you can't really think of all your options as well. So that combination kind of screws you over because you're thinking about one thing the entire time and you just miss stuff. But as far as me working on it, I think just more experience. I think I've done well. I have enough tournament experience in smaller tournaments, and I'm starting to get more in bigger tournaments. And I think just playing more. Obviously, this tournament helps. I had a few misplays, and I see people in the chat making fun of me. But I think as long as I keep getting that experience, I'll start to overcome that and maybe win without being lucky, as people have been saying.
Well, you need a little luck to win any tournament. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise.
Yeah,
I
that's the
thought
truth.
overall you came with a pretty strong game plan, and even as much as people might look and say, "Wow, he drew well" or whatnot, you still won some really tough matchups, right? Hunter and Handlock does not usually bode well for the Handlock, but you won it twice. So that's again a hat to you, a tip to Cap. And overall, I think you should be pretty proud of yourselves. I guess we don't want to take too much of your time because we know you're really tired. So, is there anybody you want to thank or to give like a last shout out, comments, thank yous about helping you practice, or people that contribute to the win here for today?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to thank my team. They're really great at helping me prepare. In particular, Powder. I talked to him for like hours on end about what my deck lists are going to be, and he basically was like, "I think you should do this. I think you should do this lineup." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds good to me." So and it really helped, as you saw, because a lot of my decks basically countered a lot of the decks lineups that my opponents had. So really, thanks to Powder, thanks to the whole team. And yeah, go check out our team at don'tgetmerobot.com. Just throw that out there.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. We'll see D2 again at BlizzCon qualifiers, or actually not qualifiers anymore. It's the pre-event. 1 week from today, I'll see you here in Burbank, California, man. So rest well, congrats, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Good luck at
Nice to
BlizzCon,
you.
man.
Thank you.
All right, so that does it for our show. We want to thank Mad Catz and LeaseWeb once again for bringing to you all of this entire series. If you want more information as to the VODs, recaps, the brackets, or even how the prize pool breaks down, go to battleofthebest.com. I heard that they're going to have more tournaments and that there's going to be more stuff in the upcoming months. So thanks again to all the people who adminned, also done production. Of course, thanks to Admirable for casting with me. It's been a pleasure as always, buddy.
Yeah, of course. Always happy to do it, and I feel like I'm getting a little bit better at some stuff, but some things I feel like I'm getting worse at the same time. I need to figure out exactly how to focus my priorities. But most importantly, I want to know what you guys think. So if you guys have any feedback for me, I don't care if it's terrible or if it's awful. Just be honest. Feel free to send me a tweet at That's Admirable, and the same for Frodan. I know that he has worked a ton on his Hearthstone game. I mean, it's amazing to see how far you've come from just like your first Hearthstone experience into now. It's night and day, man. Like you used to be, it's like I feel like Frodan just likes Hearthstone, and now it's like, wow, Frodan's pretty good at Hearthstone. And,
yeah, I don't like to think about my first time casting Hearthstone. But
well, let's not think about it.
we'll just move past that one. So. Absolutely. Well said, Nathan. Thank you so much. Congrats to D2. And, honestly, congrats to all of the people who placed in the money. They played a hell of a series. We're done here. So from Frodan, Admirable, and the rest of the production crew, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.